worksheet number 3. So for these, remember we're going to factor. So if we remember factoring, we're going to use the box. So we draw a box, and we put the x squared, and the 12, and then the 8, or 8x goes here, but the 8 is the important part. So it's factors of 12 that when we add them equals 8. So factors of 12, if you need to, this over a little bit, and if you need it for the if you don't know the factors of 12, you can always do it in the calculator, and y equals 12 divided by x, and that will give us our factors of 12. So 1 and 12, 2 and 6, 3 and 4. So which one of those, when I add them, equals 8? So that's 2 and 6. So 2x and 6x, doesn't matter which order. Then the last step is we have to check and make sure that 2 plus 6 equals positive 8. If this was negative, for example, we would have to make both of these negative. All right, so once we've got all that, we just see what goes into these. So x goes into both of these, 6 goes into this, x goes into both of these, 2 goes into here. So our answer is x plus 2, x plus 6. All right, now if you notice though, we talked about this when we did this on Choose Your Tomorrow, that for these simple ones where there's nothing in front of the x, we don't really have to do the whole box, because we end up just using these numbers. So we just say factors of 12 that when we add them equals 8. So we put, I'm just going to show you again. You put those two there, and then we have to figure out our sign. So positive 2 plus positive 6 equals positive 8. And so we have our positives there. All right, so let's look at this one without doing the whole box. So factors of 10 that when I subtract it equals 3. So we'll do factors of 10. I'll go ahead and do them in the calculator, although you may not need them in the calculator for this one. Just for those of you who do. So factors of 10 that when I subtract them, because of this minus sign, equals negative 3. So 10 minus 1 is 9, so that's not right. 5 minus 2 is 3. So those are the right ones. So we're going to do x and 5 and x and 2. And then we're going to go back and check our sign. So when this is negative, remember these two have to multiply together to get this number. They need to add together to get this number. So to multiply together to get a negative, one of them has to be negative. And to get this to be a negative, our bigger one needs to be negative. So that's going to be negative 5, and that's going to be positive 2. All right, for this one, just one little thing to point out on this one. If this one is just, if there's no x term here, we could write this 0x minus 64. When there's no 0 term here, they're going to be plus and minus the same thing. So what factors of 64 are the same exact number that when I subtract them equal 0? So we put our x and our x, and it's of course going to be 8 and 8, and one's going to be plus, and one's going to be minus, so that we get to 0. Of course, if you weren't sure of that, you could go on the calculator and do 64 divided by x, and it's still the ones that when I subtract them equals 0, so 8 and 8. All right, let's go on down. All right, now with this one, if you remember, this is x squared plus 0x plus 9. And this one, are there any factors of 9 that when I add them equals 0? There are not. So this one has no factors. You cannot factor this one. Okay? All right, so our other two have something in front of the x squared. So the only way we know how to do this is with a box. So we'll go ahead and do that. 2x squared minus 3. You may not have done these in a while, so one thing that's tricky about this is we have to multiply these. 2 times negative 3 is negative 6. And they need to add up to negative 5. So factors of 6 that when I subtract them equal 5. So 1 and 6 and 2 and 3. Of course, you can use the calculator for that. But 6 minus 1 is 5. So 6x and 1x. All right, so I need more negatives. So the bigger one is going to need to be negative. All right, now these are the ones where it's a little trickier to get the outside of the box. So what can go into both of these? Just x. And what can go into both of these? Now it's not automatically this negative 6 here. It is 3 can go into both of those. And you always take this closer sign. So negative 3. What can go into both of these? 2 and an x. And what can go into both of these? 1. So our answer here is, need some more room, sorry about that, is 2x plus 1 and x minus 3. All right, one more here. So again, we're going to do, actually this one, we can make it a little simpler on ourselves by factoring out the biggest thing here. So what can go into both of these? An 8. So we get 8 times, divide this by 8, we get x squared. Divide this by 8, we get minus 9. And this is one of the simple ones again, where it's just an x squared minus a number. So we go 8x plus 3x minus 3. If you're not sure, you can either find the square root of 9 on the calculator, or you can go ahead and do what we've been doing and do 9 divided by x, and look on the table, and 3 and 3 I would subtract to get 0. Alright, so that's all on that one. So solve by factoring. Now, we can solve these by factoring, and I will, but also remember you can do this on the calculator. So you can go this in y1, that in y2. We have x squared plus 8x plus 12. And then in y2 we're going to put 0. And we go into our table and see where they equal 0. If you remember, if you look at our graph, there's going to be two answers. It looks like it's at negative 2, and maybe at 3, 4, 5, maybe at negative 6. We'll see. So here at negative 2, so x equals negative 2, and then we think it's at negative 6, and it is. And x equals negative 6. All right, if we're going to factor this, we're going to solve by factoring. Factors of 12, when I add them, equal 8. So my factors of 12 are, and again, you can use a calculator, but 1 and 12, 2 and 6, and 3 and 4. So which ones add up to equal 8? 2 and 6. And since both of these are plus, both of these are going to be plus. And remember, we're looking for what makes this 0? Negative 2. What makes this 0? Negative 6. All right, so if we're going to do this one on the calculator, we'll do that one on the calculator first. X squared minus 3x. And put the other side in y2. Let's just take a look at our graph. Now it's not there and there. It's going to be up where 28 hits. We can look if you want. You don't have to do this to solve it, but just so you can see what I'm talking about. We can put y maximum at 30, and we're looking for where they cross there and there. So second table, and let's see if these come out even. I went too far, sorry. There's one of them, -4. And x is equal to, there's the other one, 7. Alright, so I'm not going to factor this one, but what you would do is, remember you have second equal to 0, so you do -28 on both sides, so you'd have x squared minus 3x minus 28 equals 0, and now you can factor it. So factors of 28, that when you subtract them equal 3, it ends up being 4 and 7. We need more negatives, so it'd be negative and plus. I guess I am going to factor them. So what makes this 0? -4. What makes that 0? 7. Alright, I know this video is kind of long, but we're going to go ahead and finish this up here. So to graph the parabola, you can go ahead and do it in the calculator, that's fine, but you need to look for certain points so that you get it neat. So x squared plus 1, graph it. I'm going to go back. Zoom 6 is standard. I'll get it back normal again. Alright, so what is this lowest point? It looks like it's 0, 1. Yeah, we're looking for this lowest point. It's the best one to do. So that's our vertex. I'm going to get a good drawing of our vertex here. And then if you'll just do a couple of points on each side, so like 1, 2. And remember, there's always another one on the other side. Those are called symmetric points. And 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And there's another one on the other side. That gives you a good drawing of your parabola. So this one, x squared minus 4. So the points we really want to draw are the vertex and these two zeros and maybe one other set of points. So if we go back into our table, and the vertex is at 0, -4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And then our zeros, those are good ones, so -2, 0. And remember there's another one on the other side, without even looking at the table. And maybe one more, how about 3, 5, -3, 5, -3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And there's going to be one exactly on the other side. Those are symmetric pairs. Remember, this is called the vertex, and these are called zeros, and both of those would be symmetric pairs. All right, one more, 1/2 x squared. So 1 divided by 2, x squared. All right, so this one's a little wider. Looks like 0, 0 is going to be our vertex. So 0, 0. And it's also our only 0, only solution, right? So then how about 2, 2, 2, 2, off of my table over there, and 3, 4.5. So 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, 4.5. So we're going to put it right there. And that should give us a pretty good parabola. All right, last one. What is the range of the function x squared minus 2? So we can just put it in the calculator. X squared minus 2. And we want to know domain. Remember, these are our x values. And it wants the range. So those are the y values. So if we put this in our table, all we're looking for is when x is 0, what is y? -2. When x is 1, y is -1. When x is 2, y is 2. And that's our answer.